In this video, we're going to discuss the biggest deal killers that I see a lot of newer land investors running into. What's going on, guys? This is Sumner Healey from landinvestor.co. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new here, I make videos about land investing. I document my journey, and hopefully I can help others along the way. And hopefully you don't have to go through the same slog that I went through in terms of buying properties that simply weren't good deals. And when I look back and reflect on what made these not good deals, it simply comes down to these two variables. Now, this video is broken into two parts, but in this first part, we're going to discuss what we call legal access. When I first started out, I was going willy-nilly. I wouldn't look at plat maps. I wouldn't take properties through title. I was self-closing on everything. And what I would do is I would go and say, hey, you know what? The property's assessed at 10 grand. I can buy it at 2,500 bucks. And it looks like comps are trading for $15,000 or $20,000 out there. So I was thinking I was getting myself into a slam dunk situation. And I kid you not, this happened dozens of times until I finally wised up and started figuring out how to actually verify legal access. Now, there's two forms of legal access that we're going to discuss in this video. The first form is when a property actually has county road access. Ideally, your property is going to have county road frontage. That means it's a county maintained road that gives frontage to your property, or you'll have the county road that runs through your property. Not always the best case situation, but in that case, when you see a county road running through the property, you know, hey, you're in a good position. There is going to be legal access to the property. The next situation that you might find yourself in is if it's a part of a subdivision. Typically, they'll have roads within that subdivision that the road maintains. A lot of subdivisions are going to have legal access across the board, and typically all the properties in the subdivision are going to have road frontage. Now, it's not always the case. There are some subdivisions which were platted up way back in the day. Now, this isn't always the case. There are some subdivisions in the Southwest where they just chopped up the land and they didn't provide any legal access. It's very, very rare. And nowadays, if you're looking at really any modern subdivision, you're typically always going to see that there is legal road access to those properties. Now, the third situation that you can find yourself in, and this takes a little more nuance to actually suss out, but it's when the property looks like it's actually landlocked. Like, you might be looking at it and you're saying, yikes, I don't know. This looks like there's no road access. Now, most times if you see that, that probably means there actually is no road access, but there is a slim possibility that it has what's known as a boundary easement or a deeded easement. Now, a boundary easement you're typically going to find in areas that were subdivided and then they never chopped in any roads. I've seen a handful of these out in Colorado, for example, and what they'll do is they'll say, hey, we created the subdivision, there's 140 acre lots out here, and we're going to give a 30-foot boundary easement where you can cross through any of the properties as long as you stay 30 feet within the boundary. So that means you can cut through any of the lots to eventually get to your property, and you should always be able to find these boundary easements within the deed. And if you're using a title company, they'll always be able to suss out if there is any boundary easement. Now, the next situation you might find yourself in is what we call a deeded easement. And so imagine this, you've got a property here that's got road frontage, maybe it's a house or maybe it's a vacant lot. There's a county road running through here, and then you've got a lot that's in the back. Now, that lot that's in the back doesn't have any county road frontage, and presumably maybe at one point they were all one lot and they got chopped up and subdivided, which is typically how you end up with these oddball landlocked properties that don't have any road frontage. Now, in that case, what you might find is the person that lives here had granted the current owner or a previous owner a deeded easement to the property. So the deed should state that, hey, you can access through my property to get to your property. And ideally, it should carry down from owner to owner to owner to owner, although that's not always the case. Now, when you're working with sellers, you'll hear them often say, yeah, no, it does have access. I drive through my neighbor's property all the time to get to my lot. He's totally cool with it. It's not a big deal. Well, that's the thing. If it's a handshake agreement, unfortunately, that might work for you, but that's not going to fly for a new owner, aka me, when I buy the property. So if there is an agreement, there is an easement in place, you always want to ensure that it's actually within the deed, it's been recorded, and that it will transfer to the new owner, aka you. And so simply put, I see far too many people getting started in this game that are buying landlocked properties with no legal access. And I can't fault you. I did the same exact thing dozens of times. Now, believe it or not, there is an audience out there of people that will buy landlocked properties. It surprises the heck out of everyone. It surprises the heck out of me to this day. But the tricky thing with landlocked properties is, one, you need to be buying them at a heavy discount. I'm talking maybe 5 to 10% of its retail value, and you're typically going to be selling these between 20, 25, 30% of its retail value. The other thing is these properties take a long freaking time to sell. As you can imagine, in a lot of cases, people can't even go and view the land, so it's just random people that buy it on the internet. So typically you're gonna get someone that's super adventurous and A, either thinks they can figure it out and get an easement squared away, or B, they don't really care, they just like the fact that the property's cheap. The crazy part is with all the landlocked properties I bought in the beginning, I still made money on them. It just took a long freaking time to sell, and when you're starting out with limited capital, it's a big waste of your freaking time to have that capital rotting away in a deal that's not gonna make you much money and is gonna take a while to sell. And really, to sum all of this up, if you want to simplify this process, I recommend just using a title company. They will do a lot of the heavy lifting here to ensure that the property does have legal access. Now, it's worth noting that title companies still make mistakes. In the last 12 months, I've had 3 closings with title companies where they said the land didn't have legal access, and I had to go and prove to them that it actually does have legal access, and then they roped that into the insurance policy, ensuring that it does have legal access. Hopefully you guys like this video. Stick around for part 2, where I'm going to discuss the second piece that kills way too many deals for folks just getting started. I'll see you guys in the next video.